Types of larva. Types of larva. Classification of the type of larva is mainly based on the head and number of legs. Eusipilus. Larva with distinct head and mouth parts. Example, larva of mosquito. Acephalus. Larva with reduced head or no head. Example, larva of Dipteron flies. Polypod larvae. Eusipilus. Thorax with 3 segments, each with a pair of legs. Abdomen with 10 segments, first 5 segments bearing fleshy hooked leg called legs. It has both thoracic and abdominal leg. Example, caterpillar or butterfly. Oligopod larva. Oligopod larva. Eusipilus. Thorax with 3 pair of legs, no abdominal leg. Example, beetle larva. Apodous larva. Syphilis, reduced head, no thoracis or abdominal leg. Larva of house fly and blowfly. Types of pupa. Type of pupa. Types of pupa. It is the quiescent phase between larvae and imago adult, also called chrysalis, inside which the imago is formed. Imago is the adult insect inside pupa. Types of pupa. Exarate or free pupa. Active pupa. The wings and legs of developing adult can be seen externally and they are free from the rest of body. Beetles. Example, beetle. Obtact pupa. Obtact pupa. The leg and wings of developing adult is bound down to the body by molting fluid. They can be seen externally. The adult emerges from pupa through the T-shaped opening. Example, Brachycera, Nematocera. Contact pupa. Contact pupa. Last larval skin is not cast off but form a puparium inside which adult develop. Developing adult cannot be seen externally. Young adult emerge out through circular opening on pupal case. Pupa. Example, pupa of housefly, stable fly. Class Insecta. Class Insecta. About 70% of all the species of all kind of animal are insects. लगभग 70% स्पीसीज इंसेक्ट की है. Few are of veterinary importance. Easily recognized because the body is clearly divided into head, thorax, abdomen. Head. Head is a rigid capsule formed by union of number of sclerates. In some structure between the sclerates are visible. On the head is seen eye, antennae, mouth part. Head of insect. Vertex, ocelli, compound eye. Compound eye. जीना, चिक. चिक को जीना बोलते हैं. मैंडिबल. Two type of compound and simple eye. कंपाउंड आई के बारे में बात करते हैं. कंपाउंड आई आर प्लेस्ड laterally on the head. They are seen above the cheek or the gina. They may be holoptic, यानी कंपाउंड आई may meet at the midline. Male mosquito, male tabanus. Dicoptic, compound eyes may be placed wide apart. Example, female mosquitoes, female tabanus. Dicoptic eye. Each compound eye is made up of numerous facets or ommatidia. Function: per- perceive movement of object, also night or day vision. Simple eye or ocelli, typically three in number, forming an inverted triangle, placed dorsally on the vertex area between compound eye. Function: perception of very near object, cause image light or dark. Antennae. Antennae. Antennae, a pair of mobile joint antennae are seen in attached to head in front of and between the eye. Function: olfactory sense, tactile, hearing, auditory. Jones organ, important of identification. Jones organ, auditory. The first antennae segment is called scap. The next is pedicle, while the remaining segment are called flagellum. तीन पार्ट है, तीन पार्ट में फर्स्ट ये हो गया स्कैप, ये वाला पार्ट हो गया पेडिकल, और ये जो रिमेनिंग पार्ट रह गया वो है फ्लेजिलम. Based on the number of segments, the order Diptera is classified into three suborders: Nematocera, Brachycera, Cyclorapha. Nematocera are dipteron with 14 to 16 antennal segments. Brachycera have less than 6 segments, usually 3 within annulation. Cyclorapha have 3 antennal segments, short, squared in housefly. Antenna is also called pilose or plumose antenna, based on the number of hair on them. Pilose antenna has less hair on the segment. The hair are short, example female mosquito में, while plumage antenna is one which is very hairy. The hairs are long, example male mosquito. Some antennae also bear a specialized bristle called arista. Such antennae are called aristae antennae. Example Musca domestica has a arista which is bilaterally plumose up to the tip. Mouth part are studied to know the host skin piercing and non-piercing nature of insect, thereby how the pathogenic organisms are acquired and transmitted and what control measure may be employed. Comprise of upper lip of labrum, which is the upper boundary of mouth. Lower lip or labium, which is lower boundary of the mouth. Between these are a pair of mandible and maxillae. On the underside of labrum is a small membranous structure, epipharynx, which bear the organ of taste. Usually epipharynx is attached to the labrum from labrum epipharynx. On the upper surface of labium is another membranous structure, hypopharynx, which is bear the opening of salivary duct. Sensory structure include maxillary and labial pulp. Typical chewing mouth part are not seen in an insect. Modification occur: fine piercing style as in mosquito, expansion of labium into a greatly expanded structure or imbibing fluid, example Musca species. Mouth part are specified lapping type. Sieve mechanism. जैसे कि हाउसफ्लाई, piercing and sucking type bedbug, tick mosquito, cutting and lapping type tapetus. Thorax. Thorax. Thorax has three segments: prothorax, mesothorax, metathorax. This segment may be distinct and separate or may be fused together. Appendage on the thorax include leg, a pair, one for each segment, wings present. Leg consists of basal coxa by which the leg is attached to the body, followed by trochanter, femur, tibia, and tarsal. Tarsal is usually five joint. Last tarsal segment is provided with a pair of claw. Below each claw a pad-like structure called pulvili is seen. Between the claw a sensory pad-like structure or spine bristle-like structure called empodium, aerolinium. एम्पोडियम देखिए, ये टार्सस है, कोक्सा, टीबिया, फीमर, ट्रोकेंटर. लास्ट टार्सर जॉइंट पेल्विस. Wings normally two pair on meso and metathorax. In Diptera, the posterior pair is reduced to a pair of balancer or halterers. Wings are supported by vein or breathing tubes, trachea, which give rise to the wing venation. Identification of insect is based on wing venation. The veins are named as costa, subcosta, and six longitudinal veins. Refer the textbook for other method of naming wing venation. Abdomen. Abdomen. Ciliary segment soft and membranous. Copulatory clasper are seen in male on the last abdominal segment, while in the females the ovipositor is seen. General feature of dipteran fly: proboscis, antennae, compound eye, ocelli, wing vein, halters. Antenna and wing of Diptera. Antenna of Nematocera, wing of Nematocera, antenna of Brachycera, wing of Brachycera, antenna of Cyclopha, wing of Cyclopha. Suborder Nematocera, suborder Nematocerca, suborder Nematocerca. Suborder Nematocerca. Nemato means long, cera means antennae. Family Culiquidae, Cycolidae, Simulidae, Ceratopogonidae. Mosquitoes. Family Culicidae. Species Anopheles quadrimanculatus, Anopheles stephanici, Culeus tarsalis, Culeus fatigans, Aedes dorsali, Aedes aegypti. General morphology. Life cycle. Difference between Anopheline and Culicine mosquito. Control. General morphological characters. Head small and spherical. Eye large compound eye, holoptic in male and dicoptic in female, ocelli absent. Antenna long and slender antenna, 14 to 15 segment, plumage in male and pylos in female. Mouth part. Mouth part are piercing and sucking type. Type of feeding is called solenophage pipe feeding. Only female feed on blood. Only female feed on blood. Females show the presence of a pair of mandibles which are long and needle-like, they piercing the skin. A pair of maxillae which are stylet-like present. Food channel is formed by the opposition of hypopharynx and labrum epipharynx. Labium does not enter the wound. Male mosquito live on nectar or fruit juice as they do not have the mandible or maxillae. Thorax. Thorax, wedge shape. Legs, three pair of legs. The third pair is called floating pair since it does not touch the substrate while resting. Wings. Wings are narrow, lanceolate and bear scale. Wing venation is characteristics in that the second, fourth, and fifth longitudinal veins are forked. Abdomen long and slender. Life cycle larva से प्यूपा से एडल्ट से फिर ये एग से फिर लार्वा, एग से लार्वा से प्यूपा से एडल्ट. Egg laid on water. Egg laid on water. Wide variation in habitat occur. It depends on the individual species performance for presence or absence of decayed material, acidity and alkalinity. Culex species egg wrapped. Larva mosquito larva called ringlets. Four larvae stage in the life cycle. Larvae feed on algae and other organic matter available in the water. Body has head, thorax, abdomen. Head bears simple eye, antennae and hair. The mouth part are masticatory and are surrounded by brushes called the feeding brushes. This produce current in the water in order to draw the food particle to the mouth opening. Thorax is unsegmented and bear hair. Abdomen has 10 segments. Tufts of hair are seen on the lateral aspect of all segments, with the help of which the larvae stay afloat. Stigmal opening is located at the junction of 8th 9th abdomen segment. The opening is called respiratory fossa in Anopheles, while in the Culicines it is covered by a tube called siphon tube. On the ventral aspect of the siphon tube is row spinal called pecten. The 8th abdominal segment in certain species reveals the presence of spine called comb. 10th segment usually bear tuft of hair, the dorsal and ventral caudal brushes and the tracheal gills. Culex species larva, mouth part, antennae, head, thorax, siphon tube, pecten, ventral burst, gills, dorsal brush, comb. Pupa, common called the tumblers. Due to the tumbling movement, they exhibit aquatic coma shape. The head and the thorax are fused together to form the cephalothorax. Below this is flexed abdomen. On the dorsal aspect of the head, a pair of breathing trumpets are seen. Ninth abdominal segment shows the presence of a pair of pedals which enable the pupa to move. The life cycle is usually completed in a week time. It may be prolonged under adverse conditions. Mosquito pupa. Mosquito pupa, cephalothorax, trumpet, pedelecs. Difference between Anopheles and Culisine mosquitoes. Difference between Anopheles and Culisine mosquito. Character Anopheles culisine. Anopheles and Culisine genus and species. जीनस है इसमें एनोफिलीज, स्पीसीज एनाफिलीज स्टेफेंसी, जबकि इसमें जीनस क्यूलैक्स, स्पीसीज क्यूलैक्स फेटिगेंस, जीनस एडीज, स्पीसीज एडीज एडेप्टाई. कॉमन नेम एनाफिलीज इज रेफर्ड टू एज thread-pelted mosquito due to the presence of tapping on the wing. Aedes is called the tiger mosquitoes due to the presence of white band at the leg joint. Difference in the adult. Resting posture. Resting posture, rest at the angle to the surface. The proboscis is head forward. Thus proboscis and abdomen are in a straight line. Rest with the abdomen parallel to the surface while the proboscis is bent down. Two abdomen and proboscis are at the angle to one another. Maxillary pulp is as long as the proboscis and has a cup-shaped appearance. Head, mouth part, male, female. Male में maxillary pulp is as long as the proboscis and has a club-shaped appearance. जबकि इसमें maxillary pulp as long as the proboscis and not clubbed. Female में maxillary pulp as long as the proboscis, जबकि इसमें maxillary pulp is short and is 1/3 the length of the proboscis. Antenna, thorax, scutellum, unilobed and crescent shaped, जबकि इसमें ट्राइलोब्ड. Wings के accumulation of scales at the anterior border of the wing give it a dappled appearance. No dabbing. Leg. No white band at the joint of leg. White band are seen at the joint of leg in the case of the Aedes alone. Abdomen. Last abdomen segment is broad and rounded at the tip. Last abdomen segment is narrow and pointed. Habit. Fly most a mile from their breeding area. Anthrophilic, nocturnal, bitter, painful bites, and prefer the ankle of man and in animal the fetlock region. जबकि इसमें white culex species can fly more than a mile from the breeding place. Aedes species do not fly far from their breeding area. The bite of the culicines are not so painful as that of the anophelines. They are ornithophilic in addition to being anthrophilic. Difference in life cycle. Difference in breeding area. Prefer fresh water such as running water, rainwater, water used for irrigation purpose स्ट्रीमलेक्स etc. जबकि इसमें क्यूलेक्स स्पीसीज ओविपोजिटर इन डर्टी contaminated water such as those in the drain, cesspit, ditches, etc. Aedes species usually preferred water held in container such as tank, water stored in buckets, rainwater in the tree holes, tar, tin, pots, etc. Egg egg laid single board shape with lateral float and frills. One female can lay 40 to 100 eggs at a time. जबकि क्यूलेक्स species lay egg in masse. The eggs are arranged vertically with the pointed end toward the surface of the water. It's referred to as the egg raft. A female can lay around 200 to 600 eggs at a time. At each species lay single egg. The eggs are cylindrical and reticulated. Larva. Absence of siphon tube. Larvae lie parallel to the water surface with the respiratory fossa applied to the water surface. Palmated hair present on the body segment enable the larva to float parallel to the water surface, green in color. जबकि इसमें siphon tube is long and conical culex species and it is short in Aedes species. Larvae hang down vertically from the water surface. Palmated hair are absent. Pectens is present. It is short in the case of Culex species, while in Aedes species it is long. A larva of Culex species is smaller than the Aedes species. Pupa. Breeding trumpet are short and broad. Abdominal segment with palmated hair. Cephalothorax close to the first abdominal segment. जबकि इसमें breathing trumpet are long and narrow. No palmated hair. Cephalothorax away from the abdominal segment. Difference in vector potential. Difference in vector potentiality. Man. Human malaria caused by Plasmodium falciparum, Plasmodium vivax, Plasmodium ovale, etc. Filariasis. In man caused by Wucheria bancropti. Brugia malei, Culex species is responsible for the transmission of Japanese bee encephalitis virus in children which cause brain fever. Aedes species is involved in the transmission of yellow fever virus, dengue, hemorrhagic fever, Rift Valley fever virus, chikungunya fever virus. Animal Dirofilaria immitis in dog, Citeria digitata in cattle. Both the genus are involved in transmission of the Dirofilaria immitis in dog, Citeria digitata in cattle, Eastern equine encephalitis virus and Louis encephalitis virus. Culex species mouth part, proboscis, antennae, maxillary pulp. Control immature stage, larva and pupa. Managemental practices. This is done by elimination or reduction of the breeding area. Stagnation of water to be avoided. Fill up it with sand. Removal of vegetation and weeds over the water body. Drain as pits, etc. to be covered. Aedes species can be easily controlled by the covering stored water in buckets or overhead tank. Water in tree holes can be drained or covered up. Proper disposal of tires and other container that can hold water and be a potential source of breeding of the mosquito. Biological control. Use of Bacillus thuringiensis resiliences control of culisines. Fishes such as Gambusia guppy feed on the larvae of mosquito, useful in controlling ornamental tanks. Predaceous larvae of the mosquito species Toxorhynchus species. Extract of Vasembu across calamus. Chemical control. Chemical control. Spraying insecticide is not recommended in freshwater source. However, the insecticides can be sprayed in sewage, drains, etc. to control the culicinage. Spraying of Paris grey, copper acetoarsenide mixed with kerosene is a safe larvicide radiation technique. Example: sterile insect technique. Adult. Adult use of net, impregnant net, repellent on individuals. Use of insecticides in the form of mat, coils, vaporous and spray. Currently used insecticides are the synthetic pyrethroid. Foam animal said malathion can also be used.